So I'm Simon Clark. I joined Interserve back in December as the Procurement Policy Manager. On the phone we have El Towers and Marsan Caban from Market Dojo. They will be taking us through the more technical aspects. They'll introduce themselves shortly when we get on to that. By way of a bit of an introduction in terms of what we're going to go through today, so I'll cover off something that we're calling sort of our procurement curriculum, which is something that I've proposed and has been signed off by Andy Jacobs in terms of some of the stuff that I'm going to be working on over the coming months. I'll then do a very brief system overview. So this is just where Market Dojo sits in our end-to-end suite of procurement systems. So then I'll hand over to Eleanor and Marsan, who will go through the live demo. The stuff that we're going to go through are there. This may well be stuff that you've been taken through before. Obviously, I'm aware, and I've actually sat in on a number of sessions that Andrew did prior to his leaving. But as part of the piece of work we did, and this is all about trying to get everybody to the same level and the same position in terms of their capability. This is going to be an ongoing process in terms of increasing your capability, whether it be in Market Dojo, PA, whole of the systems. We can talk about that. So, but we'll go through those are fundamentally the key elements of the Market Dojo solution. Then we'll do a bit of recap. We'll talk very briefly around support that's available to you, and then we'll have some time for some Q&A. If you have got any questions as we go through, by all means shout up and ask. And we can try and field those questions between myself and the Market Dojo people. Obviously, if you want to hold them on the end. Steve, on the phone, if you want to ask as well, you can either ask via phone or you can ask via the chat facility on the webinar as well. That's perfectly acceptable, and we'll try and cover off any questions you've got. If we can't answer them, I'll make a note of them, take them away, and then I'll come back and feedback to you in terms of what we can and what we can't produce. So, in terms of the training curriculum, so as part of the benefit tracking review that I've done, one of the recommendations that I've made to Andy and the procurement leadership team is about building a curriculum of procurement training. So this goes across all of the sort of like key aspects that we need to understand. So whether it's process or system driven or sort of general procurement practice. And ultimately the objective is, as it says there, as it says on the tin, to build and maintain the capability of all of our teams on the systems, the processes, etc., and make sure we're all consistently applying it. So one of the specific things that's fallen out of the benefits tracking review is interpretation of what goes into the system, what doesn't, what a certain field means, what it doesn't, sort of thing. And that might not necessarily be appropriate to the Market Dojo, but it's definitely a theme that came out in terms of the benefit tracking piece. But it's wanting to make sure that we're all using the tool in a consistent way, and we use it. And there's going to be a big focus moving forward on data integrity as a core principle in terms of making sure that the data that we've got within the systems is completely accurate and completely aligned. Ultimately, the benefit of that is to drive value for the function and to Interserve. And I think probably as well, you guys as procurement professionals as well, hopefully you're going to get some benefit out of it in terms of you know how to get the best out of the tools. It removes an element of admin time that may well be a perception that you've got in terms of stuff is too cumbersome in terms of utilising the system. It will give you clarity on the process, and hopefully, yeah, we can start to drive the systems and the tools to actually do the good stuff in terms of like looking at robust category management. In terms of the training curriculum, so it's going to be done across a number of methods. So, as I said, this is the first sort of webinar cross face-to-face session that we've done. We are planning some face-to-face training, particularly on Market Dojo, for a couple of weeks' time. That may need to be pushed back because of our lovely friend coronavirus, but we'll see how we go with that. But then there's also going to be things like surgery sessions. We're going to look at sharing best practice and success stories, doing knowledge share sessions, lots of different ways, getting good, robust support documentation out to you guys that's easy to use, easy to interpret. I'm aware that there are some working instructions around a number of our systems. They might be a bit clunky, they might be a bit more around point and click rather than actually why we need to be utilising the tool. So really trying to build the capability, build on the capability we've got to make sure that we're all applying everything consistently. So keep an eye out for that. There is stuff that's coming out. So you hopefully would have seen the newsletter. There was a piece on this. There is now a calendar of events that's starting to be built on the SharePoint site as well. So we'll probably have an ongoing theme within the newsletter of new training events, new sort of activities and stuff that's going to be happening throughout the year. So just keep an eye on those. And obviously, if you've got any questions, then by all means come back to me. These are sort of stuff that we're going to be doing, as I said, so in terms of surgery sessions, etc., etc. Yeah, there is a calendar that will be up there. But yeah, please come out. And yeah, and that final bullet point, yeah, if you've got any stuff that you think that you would want to see, so if it's on a specific system or a capability, so think about Market Dojo, so the face-to-face session that we're planning for later in the month is going to cover some of the more detailed capabilities, so things like auctions, online scoring, those sort of aspects, which are probably a little bit more detailed than the basic RFP, RFQ, and quick quotes function that we're going to cover today. But if there is anything that you want to see, then by all means come and speak to me. I'll see what we can arrange with Market Dojo, what's the best way to sort of share that learning with you guys and with the wider team as well. So if you've got any ideas, by all means come and ask me. And I think that goes as well more broadly. If you think there are ways that stuff can be done better, so whether that's to do with the templates that we've got hold on the system, if you think there's a better way of doing it, because you guys are the ones that are using these tools and these processes on a day-to-day basis. I don't. I can tell you what I used to do in my old world, but that might not necessarily be appropriate to Interserve. You guys are the ones that are using it day in, day out. You know what works well, what doesn't, and in reality how stuff can be improved. So I really implore you to try and do that moving forward. And that's going to be a common theme across all of the sort of work that I'm going to do, is that it's not going to be Simon Clark, policy manager, coming saying, this is a new process, you've got to run with it. You guys are the ones that run these processes day in, day out. You are best placed to be able to tell me how to improve them. So, right then, so in terms of a very high-level system overview, and some of you have probably seen this already, although it might be slightly different in terms of some of the bubbles that we've got on there. So in terms of where Market Dojo sits, so the red bubbles, it sits within and is integrated with our Pair and Guster, our procurement project management tool. I'm not going to call it a savings tool, it's a procurement project management tool with savings as one of the capabilities on there. So it sits very much in there, and thanks to Market Dojo and Pair and Guster working together, they are fully integrated in terms of punching out. So within the Pair and Guster system, we have our programs at the top level. We will have our opportunities, which then lead into pipelines, which then could lead into the sourcing events. And then once in the sourcing event parameter, we have a sandpit environment, which Eleanor will obviously go through. Then we have our RFP, RFQ templates. We have a quick quotes function. And then one element we're going to talk about today is the calendar function, which is where you can see all your events in terms of where they're running, what times they open and close, etc. So a really good sort of project management element. Once you complete your events in Market Dojo, those can then be pushed into the Pair and Guster system to create a savings process. And then obviously we have a contract at the end. So hopefully none of that is new to any of you. It might be a little bit, but hopefully it's nothing that you've not seen before. So, okay. Right then, with that, I'll hand over to Eleanor. Eleanor, you're going to retake control of me.
I can do, bear with me. Okay, so let me know when you can see my screen and that it's the right screen and I'm not just showing you my calendar. Is that showing okay?
Don't know. It's showing the Market Dojo demo session slide.
Okay, cool. Yep, fab. That's what it should be. Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, my name's Elle and I'm the customer success manager here at Market Dojo. So my role is essentially just making sure that you guys are getting the most out of the software and that you're kind of getting the most out of the service as well. So what I'm going to do today is give you a bit of an intro to Market Dojo, but so apologies if people kind of already know what we do. And then I'm going to show you how to set up a Market Dojo event, what the supplier will see whilst kind of participating in that event, and then how the results will look for you. So I'll kind of take you through the process from start to finish. Now, we don't have lots of people on kind of dialed in and things, so I'm not going to So if people want to jump in and ask questions throughout, then absolutely feel free. Do stop me if there's anything that you'd like to have clarified in any more detail. Also on the call we've got Marsan, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, Marcin. So I'm the account manager for Interserve. So I'm here to hear all your requests and be here to assist you along with Simon, obviously, so that you can make the most of the tool.
Fab. Thanks, Marsan. Cool. So first, I just wanted to give you a quick run through of what Market Dojo does. So yeah, if for anyone that hasn't seen the tool already, essentially what the tool will allow you to do is qualify your suppliers by asking them questions. So the kind of RFI element. It will allow you to have all of your quotes in one place so that they're easily comparable, they're ranked against one another, and you can easily kind of see everything together rather than sifting through lots of emails and kind of dealing with things in a bit more of a sporadic way. We also offer auction capability. And I'm not going to cover that today, but for anyone that is interested in running auctions, they are a great way to make savings, and we do definitely recommend trialing auctions if you haven't before. So I won't cover it in detail today, but we will do another session on auctions. And I'm also going to show you our sandpit, which is our test environment, and which we think is one of the really helpful things that Market Dojo provides. So the sandpit essentially lets you test things and see things from the supplier perspective and try it out before you go live, which means that for people that are new for the tool, it's a great way to kind of get started and get comfortable before things go out to the suppliers. So in terms of the benefits of working with Market Dojo, it should help you save time. So obviously initially you've got that kind of getting used to it element, but once that's done, the tool will allow you to copy things, to reuse information, and to kind of set things up in a nice quick way, as well as giving you lots of kind of time savings at the other end when you're getting the results back. So rather than having separate emails from lots of different suppliers, the tool compiles everything, so it's easy to kind of see that detail in the one location. It's also there for the cost saving. So we tend to see the biggest savings in auctions, but using the RFQs as well, you can absolutely make savings by being able to go out much more easily to more suppliers and increasing that level of competition. So for procurement people, those two I'm assuming are the biggest benefits. But you've also got the ability to engage your stakeholders. So stakeholders can be invited to access and view the events while they're happening, which means that they can be kept up to date and kind of as involved as they need to be. And it's also good, easy for then providing analytics and being able to export everything and analyze it in Excel or however you need to. What I'm going to do now is just going to show you a very quick kind of visual about what we do. So this may or may not make sense initially, but we can send it out for you afterwards to kind of refer back to. So essentially, when you're creating an event through Market Dojo, you've got three options. You can add a questionnaire, you can have a request for quotation or RFQ, which is the priced element, or you can have an auction. Now, some people will use all three in one event. Some people will just use one, or they might use a mixture. So if you're using the questionnaire part, that's essentially asking your suppliers questions. So that could be simple, do you agree to our terms? Do you agree to our NDA questions? Or it could be more complex, explain your service or give us the benefits of working with you questions. Those questions could be asked in a pre-qualification kind of gateway stage. They could be more of a survey. It could be a full RFI. You can make it complex and add scoring and weighting and that sort of thing. Again, I'm not going to cover that off today, but those are some of the advanced capabilities for people that are confident with the tool. So yeah, you may or may not choose to include questions, and if you're just going up for pricing, that might be something you discount. The next option you have is your request for quotation, or RFQ, and this is essentially, do you want a price? So if you add in an RFQ stage, you'll ask all participants for pricing, and it will all then be ranked. So you'll be able to see who's the best supplier in terms of price. Again, you can go complex and you could weight this against your questionnaire, but you don't need to, and I'm not going to cover that today. The final option is auctions, and we offer 3 types: ranked, open, and Japanese. For anyone that is interested in running auctions, I'll do a separate session and go through those in more detail. But yeah, just to kind of give you a bit of a visual about how it works, and we'll send this through to you afterwards. I'm now gonna jump straight into the tool. For those of you in the room that don't have an account yet, I just wanted to quickly let you know how to access Market Dojo. So if you don't have an account, you're absolutely able to sign up and log into the sandpit and have a try. So to do that, all you'll need to do is go to our website, marketdojo.com, and click on the sign up button. Once you've signed up for an account here and just filled in all the information, you'll be able to log in. And again, you can just log in from our website, so it's nice and easy to get access. If you have an account and don't remember how to get into it because it's been a while, just come to the login page and go to can't access your account. Cool. So I'm now gonna jump in and show you how things work. So do feel free to stop me as well if anyone has questions at any point. So yeah, if there's anything that you'd like me to clarify a little bit more, just give me a shout. Cool. So this is the dashboard, and this is the first page that you'll see when you log into Market Dojo. From here, you'll be able to see your current events, so things that are live at the moment with suppliers, your draft events, so anything that you're working on currently in the background, and your closed finished events. You also have your messages here on the first screen and your calendar, as Simon mentioned. So here you've got a nice overview of what events are happening. You can also drag and drop things and make sure that they're in the order that you want. And if there are elements that are showing that you don't want to see, you can click on the settings and remove them. So if you're not fussed on looking at our release notes, then that's fine. You can untick the box. You can also choose whether or not you want to see all events on your dashboard or just your own events. And yeah, you can switch between the two. The first time you log in, it's worth just going to your profile and making sure that all the details are correct. So making sure that you've got the right time zone and the right currency and all that sort of stuff. In terms of support, there's a few different ways that you can access that. So you can access a number of resources by clicking on the help button up here, and that will take you through to our resources page. So if you're looking for guides and various different things, they can be accessed through here. You could also access support via Help Dojo in the bottom right of the screen. Now, here we have a number of walkthroughs that you can click on to kind of take you step by step through a process and to talk you through what you need to do. And we also have our chat function here. So you guys are obviously all in the UK, so you'll be absolutely fine for our live chat. It operates in UK business hours and slightly outside as well. So if you want a response quickly, then the live chat is definitely the best way to contact us, and you should get a response back within less than a minute. I can't remember what the figure is, but it's a number of seconds is our average. So yeah, if you do want to have a chat with anyone, then just come to us via the live chat here. Our support team will also speak to your suppliers. So if you have technical questions from a supplier, don't feel like you need to deal with it yourself. Just send them to us and we'll handle that. So if they don't know how to log in, or they don't know how to place a bid, or whatever, don't feel like you need to handle those questions. Send them straight to us, and we'll answer any kind of issues that they have. What I'm going to do now is jump into the sandpits. And as we've already mentioned, the sandpit is a really, really useful tool to help you get used to Market Dojo and get comfortable with things before you go live to your suppliers. So in the sandpit, you can essentially try kind of set up an event in the exact way that you would in the live site. And then you can switch your view up here in the top right to a participant view so that you can then work through it from their perspective. So it means that you can see exactly what they see, you know what to expect. You'll also receive any emails that the system is sending when you're creating events. So before you actually run your first event, you can have kind of gone through each stage and seen all of the email communication from both sides so that then you're super comfortable. I basically say to everyone that the first time you create any event, or if you're doing something that's a bit different to what you've done before, or you're trying something out, I would always do it in the sandpit first, and then it's really easy to just copy it and copy your work in the sandpit over into the live site. So yeah, it just means that you can kind of get really comfortable. Now, what I'm going to do is create a new event. And we've got two options here. We can either do a new event or we can clone an event. So if we were to clone an event, we can essentially copy an event that's happened already. So there'll be a list here of options to choose from. You can choose whether or not you want to copy the event from inside or outside of the sandpit by ticking the box. And then whichever one you select will essentially, it will copy the whole thing, and then you'll just need to make kind of little edits that you want to make before you go live. What I'm going to do today though is create a new event. So again, sorry, did someone have a question or anything? Cool. So again, we've got two options here. We can either do a new event or we can use a template. And what I'm going to do is use one of the templates that's in here so that you can see what there is as an example. But setting up a new event is pretty similar. It's just that the details won't already be pre-filled. So there's a couple of templates that you have available here. We've got the RFP template and the RFQ template. And again, I recommend just getting yourself familiar with what's available and kind of working through this to get yourself comfortable with templates. They will be really useful because it will just give you an idea of the sort of questions that you might ask. What I'll show you now is how you can kind of change it. So you don't need to stick kind of verbatim to what's in the template, but it will mean that you've got a bit of guidance. So you're not just starting from scratch and you're not just kind of trying to work it out. Work it out from the beginning. So I'm going to select the RFP template and I'm going to click on use template. Now, and once that's all loaded, so what we'll do is basically work through from start to finish the process of setting an event up. So the first tab is our settings tab, and on here we're going to set up the structure. So the structure comes first, and then once we've done this tab, we'll add in the content later. Now, the first thing we'll do is create an event name. And this would be emailed to the supplier as the header in their email. So you just want to make sure it's clear, it makes sense, and it kind of includes sufficient detail. So I'm just going to call this, let's call it IT hardware. Cool. So we'll call it IT hardware RFP. Once we put in the name, we can pick the currency. So most of you will be GBP, but if you need to change it, you can choose from the drop down. You could also make it multi-currency if you wanted to, although I feel like that's probably not going to be as relevant for you guys. Next, you'll add your brief. And again, the brief will be sent to the supplier via email. So this is essentially the bulk of the email that they receive. So you want to make sure that you've got all the information that you would normally send in an email to a supplier if you were sending them out a request for them to participate in some sort of tender. So you want to have things like the potentially you might have intro to the company. You want to have your the brief for what you're looking for. You might want to have locations, key deadlines, and probably some information on how to contact you. So I would say if I put something in here about contacting you via the messages tab for questions on the tender, or contacting us at Market Dojo if it's a question on not knowing how to use the tool. But yeah, with this, you just want to make sure you've got a good level of detail in there without kind of scaring them away in the email by putting in too much. Next, we'll add the different sections. So because we've used a template, there's some bits that are already filled out. So here we've ticked the box saying, would you like a questionnaire? So this means that our event is going to include some questions. We then name the questionnaire. So this questionnaire is called the RFP overview, and this one is going to be pretty standard. So if you're using the template, this is one that'll always be on there and just requires you to kind of make some edits in the content. But we'll put in we've got our RFP overview here. We can then choose whether or not the questionnaire is pre-qualification and whether it includes scoring. So if you make a questionnaire pre-qualification by ticking this box, that basically makes it into a gateway questionnaire. So it means that this set of questions is asked to the supplier before they're able to provide pricing, before they answer any other questions, and before they have access to any documents that you haven't specifically selected to give them access to. So you might use this as if you have an NDA you want them to fill out first, then you might have a pre-qualification questionnaire including that NDA. Or if you had some specification questions that are absolutely key and you've gone out to loads of suppliers and you just want all of those suppliers to confirm to you in advance that they can do X, Y, and Z before you even consider looking at pricing, then again, you might choose to use the pre-qualification option there. So it just means that you can be a bit more restrictive on who moves on to later stages, and you'll need to then accept them before they can move on to another stage. You also have the option of adding on scoring, and again, I'm not going to cover off this in loads of detail today, but if you add on scoring, then you can choose which questions in your questionnaire are scored. You can choose how many they are scored out of, and you can add in some information for each question as to what the score should be based on that will be shown internally. If you want to make it even more complex, you can add in weighting. So you could weight certain questions or certain sections against one another to kind of come out with an overall weighted score. And you could then go even further and weight that against the pricing or against the auction if you wanted to. Again, for most people, you won't need to. It's not functionality that is used by the kind of the majority of our users, but it is there, and if you're doing something complex, then the tool can accommodate it. And because we're using the template, we've got a few different questionnaires on here. So we've got questionnaire 1, which is our overview. We've got questionnaire 2, our company information, and then we've got our RFP response. So these are all going to include some template questions for you that you can work through and decide whether they're going to be relevant for your particular event. So I'm just going to put some deadlines on here as well. Now, you can choose to set the same deadline for each part of your event. Oh, I can't use my computer though. So you could choose to set the same deadline for everything, or you can set different deadlines for different parts of it, and have kind of different stages with different timings. But it's up to you. You could keep it the same for all. And what you can do, if you're just going to use the same deadline for each, you can take this box and it will fill it for you. So you can just copy the previous deadline, which is new functionality. So anyone that has used the tool already, this copy feature is new this month. The next thing that we're going to do is decide whether or not we want to add in pricing, which is the RFQ stage, or an auction. And as I mentioned, I'm not going to cover off the auction in lots of detail today. The majority of the process is the same if you choose to use the RFQ or the auction. The only bit that is actually different is the auction itself and the settings that you complete here. But yeah, I'm going to select RFQ. So we're going to add in an RFQ stage, and I'm going to give it the same deadline. Here you have the option of choosing whether or not the RFQ is in reverse or forward bid direction. For you guys, it's basically always going to be reverse. A reverse bid direction means that you're looking for the bids to get lower each time. So you're looking for the lowest price. If you were to go for a forward direction, you're looking for the pricing to increase each time. And that's the settings. So that's the kind of structure that we set up. Did anyone have any questions on this at this point?
Not necessarily a question. In terms of there's an option as well to do the sealed bid.
Yeah.
So that's at the top.
Yeah.
A question really for the room and Steve on the phone in terms of whether or not that's what we do verbatim, or we're not concerned about it, or.
I would say you probably never want to do it. I would just always leave that box unticked. So if the it's more used for kind of public sector and for things where you don't want to know what's happening as it's going on. So if you select that, then you're not going to see anything until the bid passes. So until the deadline passes. So you're not going to know what bids you've had and who's kind of doing best and that sort of thing. So for private sector, unless there's a real reason that you need to be kept unaware, I would say.
Yeah, I think the reason I'm asking is that I'm doing with one of the project teams, so some of the events that they're doing for like some of the hospitals, they've asked to make sure that stuff is sealed. So
yeah, okay.
It's not say that the process we use is not transparent. It's just so they have that audit trail, so then they can demonstrate to their auditors what the process that we've gone through. Do that. So yeah, depending on which client or whatever you might be doing a specific event for, it might be just something to be mindful of. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got situations like that, then absolutely, then you can seal it. So that would mean that you won't have access to anything until after the deadline's passed. But yeah, if you've got a specific scenario like that where a client is requiring you to do that, then yeah, it's possible and it's there.
I have a question. How do you? What's your differentiation between RFP and RFQ?
So in the tool, so the templates that have been set up are Interserve specific templates. So that's the Interserve definition of RFP and RFQ. The tool itself will only ever refer to RFQ, and what it means in the tool is, do you have some lotted pricing in there? The templates that you guys have got, the RFP one is the one I'm showing today, and that one includes both questionnaire and pricing. But yeah, it will be it's the kind of Interserve definition of the two for the templates.
The expectation then is that the RFP is largely a wordy type response, and then the prices are in the RFQ section. Yeah. Righty-ho, understood.
No problem.
I've got a question about, at the beginning you were saying you could change the settings so you can see all events or my events. Well, in my system I can't see other events apart from my own, even though it is set to all events.
Okay, well that's just a permission. So as default, no one has access to other people's events, because that's how the tool's set up. So if people do need to have access to others, then we just need to set up the permissions to mean that everyone has that access. So yeah, we can do that.
If you email me, so and it has, but I think it's been a specific decision not to give everybody access to everything. But obviously, there might be a need for you to have access to guys within your team. So if you're there as a backup, as a bit of resilience, whatever, to look after the event while people are on holiday, whatever, then yeah, we can definitely sort that out for you.
Okay, thank you.
Fab. Cool. So that's the settings. So I'm just going to move on and go through to the content. So once you've got your settings set up, the next thing you'll do is add in documents. So you'll have the option here to either add in documents manually, so just putting in your own documents like your product specification or any any event specific details you can upload manually. What we can also do is, if we wish, if someone wants to, we can add in some questions into the document library, some documents into the document library if there's things like terms and conditions and NDAs that are getting used regularly. This one I will just drag one across, so you can just drag and drop to add things in. You can also choose whether or not the document is included in the invitation, so whether it gets emailed to the supplier, and if you've got a prequal, whether they'll kind of see that from the very beginning. So I'm going to upload this. Once you've added your suppliers, you can also choose who you share the documents with. So if you've got specific documents that you need to just share with one supplier, then you can use the share with option to do that. Cool. So I'm going to upload this and then move on to the next stage. So next we move on to setting up our questionnaires. Now, because we've used the template, we've got a number of questions and details and things that are in here, and I'll just run through it quickly so you kind of know what to expect. So each questionnaire, you can add in as many questions and as many sections as you need to, and you can also add in extra description in various places to kind of make it nice and easy to use and to make it really clear for the supplier. So at the top, you've got here we've got a description kind of letting people know that this section is going to include all the important information. So this first questionnaire, the template has basically been separated out to give you an idea about what information you should be putting into your putting in here to give the supplier enough detail to participate. So here we've got information, we've got a space for you to include the details about the brief, what you need, what you don't want, why people should participate. We've then got a section about Interserve. We've got some space for you to add in key information, and it should be really obvious where you need to fill things in because you've got all these stars and kind of obvious putting your dates here, that sort of thing. So the template's basically been designed to give you all the structure for you to fill out, and for your event, for you then to just pop in all the information. So here we've got a question. So what I'm going to do is just show you how to add in new questions. So here we've got the question, please confirm that you agree to the RFP process. So here we can edit the question. You can choose whether or not your questions are mandatory by ticking or unticking this box. You can add in extra description here. So let's say, now what we can do is we can do things like link documents to certain questions. So I can't remember what I added, but I'm going to highlight the word here and click on this little link icon. And then we can attach the document that I uploaded into the document section here. So this will mean that the document is attached and the supplier can access it just by clicking on the link. So each question has a number of different response types that you can choose from, and these should basically cover every option that you might need. So we've got yes, no, pick from a list, multiple choice. We can do one-line text, which is a quick response, a longer paragraph text, document upload, table, numeric. So we can do things like adding in table questions, or if we do multiple choice, then we'll add in each of our options. So it should be a really nice way for you to essentially make sure that each supplier responds in the same format, and it's the format that you want them to respond in, so then you can easily compare and contrast your responses. So let's leave this as a yes, no. And I'm just going to add in one more question. So one thing that we can do is we can also link questions so that they only show depending on the response type that you've got from the previous answer. So let's say for this one, we've asked them, do they agree? If they say, and let's ask them, why not, if they've said no. So if we have the please confirm question selected from the drop down, so if that question has the value of no, then we're going to show this question. So we're going to ask why not. We can also then give this one a paragraph text response, and we've set the number of characters, so we'll leave it at 500 because that should be a quick response.
Can you make it so the subsequent questions don't appear there? So I'm thinking of they accept the terms and conditions, and they say no. Then you say, right, thank you very much. Your journey ends here.
So you could do, yes. Obviously it depends how you set things up. So what you would actually need to do is link all the lower questions to a yes response. So you'd basically say, if you have your terms, what some people do is have like the first question on the questionnaire is, do you intend to participate in this event? Yes, no. If they say yes, then all of the other questions are linked to that yes answer. Whereas if they say no, none of the other answers show. So yeah, absolutely. It just takes some thinking about how you're gonna set it up and which ones you want to link. But yeah, it's a nice easy way to kind of make sure that the questions don't show if someone's given you a wrong response. What you could also do is have a failed question though. So what you could do is set this as fail, and if the fail is marked as yes, it's a fail, then that would fail the questionnaire and then lock out the supplier from continuing. So I would say be sparing with the fail questions, because if someone does it in error, then it will lock them out. Or if it will stop them answering anything else. So if you're not absolutely positive that a no is a fail, then don't. But yeah, the functionality is there to fail people. Does that make sense?
I think it's probably going to have to be a suck it and see, isn't it? I think
it depends on how strict you're going to be with it, because you could almost set it up, and it depends on the level of information on the you can make the questionnaire pre-qualification. So in reality, if that's the only question that you ask us, so that RFP overview gives them all of the information they need to know about the event, what it's for, when we need it by, etc., etc. And then if the gated question is, do you accept the terms and conditions, yes or no? They say no, they could tell us why, but then you could actually say whether or not you're actually going to take them forward and let them have access to the other events as well. So
you actually have two questionnaires, one which is the pre-qualification questionnaire, and the subsequent questionnaire is dependent upon that first. What I'm thinking is that our standard template has the acceptance of the terms and conditions. So we're not going to pay them for it, for example. The non-disclosure agreement and the non-collusion. I think those are the three bits in the standard IT RFP document. If they come back and say no to any of those, then they can't go ahead. So it's good night now.
Yeah, so what we could do is set that up as a pre-qualification questionnaire. So what I can quickly do is I'll just make this questionnaire pre-qualification, so then I can show you how that works. So I'm just going to save that. And then when I'm showing you things, it might make a bit more sense. Cool, so I'm going to take that deadline and let's put that at 5:30. Cool, so I've saved that, and I'll be able to show you how the pre-qual works then. Cool, so did anyone have any other questions on questionnaires, on how to add questions, or kind of how any of that works?
You know, if a deadline needs to be changed, does an automatic notification go out to all the suppliers, or do you have to manually contact the suppliers and say, I've extended the deadline by a week or 2 weeks or whatever?
It's up to you. So if you make an edit whilst the event's live, then there's a pop-up that'll pop up and ask you, do you want to send a message to everyone? So you can then send the message if you choose to, or if you've changed something if you've changed the deadline for one supplier because they were late and you don't really want to highlight that to everyone else, you can just close it and not send the email. So it's your choice.
Would they automatically be notified, or would the onus be on us to?
They won't automatically be notified of a change to, they're not automatically notified, but you will always be prompted. So it's always your choice whether you notify them of a change or not. There are lots of things that you can't change during the event. So you wouldn't be able to kind of make changes to the lots during the event if you've already got prices added in, because otherwise it kind of makes it all null and void. But yeah, if you have changed a deadline or something, then it's your choice whether you notify people.
When we get to when you launch the event and Marsan's going to do the participant bit, can we just show that bit so you can sort of, as it's running, go and extend it or shorten it and see what it comes up for Khalil?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, I can show you that. A couple of other just bits to show you. On here, you can drag and drop things, move them around. So once you've got it all up, it's nice and easy for you to make changes. You can also download and upload as an Excel sheet. So if you've got lots of questions you want to add into a questionnaire, you don't have to do it all in the tool. You can do it by Excel instead. You can add in as many questions and sections and things as you want, and it's kind of up to you. So the template that's in there, you can remove as much of that as you need to if it's not relevant, and then you can make the changes that you need. So I'm going to save this. We've then got the other two questionnaires. So you've got your company information questionnaire, which will give you lots of kind of questions that you might ask about the company. I'm not going to go through these in detail for you. You guys can have a look through the template, but it's loads of the sorts of questions you might ask if you're the sort of company based questions. So a lot of that will be relevant to lots of tenders, and it's just up to you whether you include them or not. And then you've got the RFP questionnaire. So in here,
Ellie, sorry, just to add, in terms of those questionnaires, so this is like the base RFP template. So obviously, so there may be instances that you choose to use Market Dojo. So if you're doing, I don't know, a call off from a framework number of suppliers, so that's something potentially we could look at defining a distinct distinct template to call off, because in reality you're not going to ask contracted suppliers if you already got frameworks that you just want to do a particular project. You're not going to ask for all of their company information all over again, because they've already got contractors using the tool to run a mini competition event between a certain select number of suppliers. So obviously we can tweak those, or you can choose and tweak those as you go through. So
we have a requirement for vendors to complete an information security spreadsheet, which has literally hundreds of questions in, and we would want them to download the spreadsheet, fill in the answers, and then
very, very cold.
Fill in the answer and then email that spreadsheet to us. Would you recommend doing that along the lines of the way that you just described the create document and then link to it in a question?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd add the document as an upload, have your question, and then have the question response type as a document upload. So then they'll just you can link it so that it's easy for them, they know where they've got to go. And then if you pick document upload from here, they'll be required to upload a document to answer that question. And that's absolutely what I'd say.
With everything else. Good one, lovely, yes.
Fab. I mean, if it was kind of 10 or so questions rather than 100 or so, then I'd probably say to put the questions in individually, because then you're going to be able to compare and contrast. But yeah, if it's just a yes, no, do you do X, Y, and Z, then yeah, then a spreadsheet will make sense.
No, it's hundreds.
Yeah, that's going to be better as a spreadsheet. That'll be much easier for them. Cool. So yeah, this RFP response one is this is gonna be the one where you might make more changes, I would say, to the template. So here there's going to be various questions that are relevant and various ones that are not. The questions that are in here are going to be an example, but there might be certain bits that just aren't relevant for your tender. So here you can work through, there's lots of examples of things that you can ask, but you can, anything you don't want, you can just remove. And then you can add in the extras that you want to make it relevant to your specific tender. Cool. So what I'm going to do now is move on to the pricing part. So when you're setting up, basically, if you're asking the suppliers for pricing and you're looking for kind of one-off prices, then we'd add on the RFQ stage in the settings, and you'll then have the ability to ask them the pricing here. So we provide two options, simple lots and advanced lots. Simple lots, if you're just asking for a price, so you're giving them a bunch of item names and you want them to come back with a price, then simple lots will always be enough. If you're looking for something more complex, so if you're looking to have multiple columns and you might want a price plus a delivery cost plus, I don't know, an item name or item code that needs to be in with the pricing, and you're looking to kind of build more of a table sort of matrix, then you would use advanced lots. So advanced lots does much more than just here's an item, what's your price? You can have calculations, you can have text fields, and you can be a lot more it's a lot more flexible and allows you to be a lot more complex with what you're doing. Today I'm going to go through simple lots, and wherever you can do things in simple lots, I would still always recommend that you do. Sometimes things just don't need to be fully complicated in the lotting, and actually sometimes all you'll need is a kind of overall price that you get the rankings in the tool, and then sometimes an Excel spreadsheet will still be a useful tool if you need extra detail. So we're going to click on new lot, and then I'm going to create my lots. So we're doing IT hardware, so let's just call this one laptops. So we provide our item name, we then provide our quantity. So let's say we want 100 laptops, and then we provide our unit of measure. So this might be each, it could be that you're looking for a box of 6, it could be that you're looking for them to give you the price per month, or the annual price, or the price per meter squared. The format in which you want them to quote is your unit of measure. Then you're adding your current price. Now, if you don't know the current price, then we recommend that you put your budget in this box, or the expected price, because this is what the system will calculate the savings off of. So wherever possible, I would say put something in the current price box, even if it's not quite your current price, so that then you can then have something to calculate savings against. The current price won't be shown to participants. They will never see that, but it is really useful for you. So let's say that our laptops are £200. We then have the choice of adding a qualification price.
Yes, please. I'll have some of them. So you bought the IT specialist in the room with a laptop for £200.
Well, we're going for cheap laptops here. So yeah, the current price you'll compare against, and then you've got the choice of the qualification price. You might not always add a qualification price, you might choose not to, but essentially what this will do is allow you to prevent suppliers from adding a bid above that price. So you might say that the budget is 200, I don't want to see anything above 200, so I'm going to put in a 200 qualification price. And that's kind of the detail that you need for adding in the lots. You'll just put the name, the quantity, what the unit of measure needs to be, and yeah, your current and qualification prices. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. Were there any questions on the RFQ element? No? Cool, that's nice and easy. You have the option of downloading and uploading again. So if you've got 100 items or 500 items, then you can download an Excel spreadsheet, upload, and it'll all come up automatically into the tool rather than needing to add them in manually.
I think I'll probably just to add to it. I think given there's no questions, I think it's probably just you've got to think about it. So you almost start off probably historically with what your Excel spreadsheet you went out to market last time, and then see, okay, well then how do we replicate that in terms of a lotting structure? And it may well be in some instances, I guess, that actually going for the Excel spreadsheet is the only way, but there may well be that there's a way that you can round up particular sections of that. So if it's, you might have IT hardware and there's a number of set items, or if it's for a service provision that might be made up of different elements, that you still might want the granular details and attachment to support the pricing, but headline figures might just be, provision of annual service is this much.
Good point there. Is there a way of structuring that? So can you put headings in to group things together within that lotting structure?
So in the simple lots, no, it will just give you all of the items. What you could do is name them in a way that does that. So you could kind of call it IT hardware, laptops, IT hardware, desktops, and then you name it. You can use it. You can do your naming convention. In the advanced lots, yes, you can group them together. So in advanced lots, you can have you can have lots of different lots, and then each lot would have line items. So yeah, it kind of depends how you're looking to set things up.
Lovely, thank you.
What we will do is I will do a session on advanced lots as well, though. So I'm not covering it today just because it's too much to do all in one day. But the later sessions, so the face-to-face ones, potentially that then we'll cover advanced lots and that capability.
Okay.
Cool. So I'm going to save this and go on to the final step, which is inviting our participants. So because I'm in the sandpit, I've only got my sandpit companies to choose between. But if you're in the live site, you'd be able to add by email, upload a list. You can set up groups if you want to, and you'll have your database. So any supplier you've ever invited will show in the database in the live site. But yeah, here I just have my sandpit companies. So I'm going to add these guys. And then I'm going to do the final stage, which is inviting participants. There is a little box here that says, do you want to automatically accept participants? I would always say the answer to that is yes. I don't actually know why this continues to be here, and I keep meaning to suggest that we remove it. It basically just adds in an extra step that isn't necessary because yeah, you don't need it. So always just leave this box ticked. So I'm gonna invite participants, and clicking on this blue invite participants and finish button is the final stage. And what that does is send out the invitations to all suppliers. They'll get an email. The email will give them the information that you put into your brief. It will give them kind of any details about the events, and it will give them a link that they can click on to sign in and get access. So you can see here, Marsan has just gone in as participant 3 and accepted my invite. So he's changed to accepted invite, but we can see the others here haven't accepted yet. So yeah, suppliers will never be charged anything. They will, and all they'll need to do is fill up that sign up page that I showed you initially to get access. So I'm just going to switch my view now, and I'm going to be participant 1. And we'll just work through what the participant will see. So here, the participant, the first page that they'll be brought through to is this page if they click on the invitation in the email. So they'll see the title of your event, and they'll have the option to accept or decline. So let's accept this. Now, because I've done it, this is a pre-qualification questionnaire. The supplier's not going to see everything yet. So they'll see your brief, they'll see everything that you've included in that settings page, and they'll see the first set of questions. So this is our RFP overview. So they'll see all of this information that was in there. They've got the questions. So let's give this one a yes. So we've got our terms and conditions question here that we added. So if they were to say no, then they see this why not box pop up. If they say yes, then it disappears. So we can work. So the supplier will just work down the page, answering any questions that they need to. for this one, there's not actually there's not that many questions. It's just lots of text for them. But yeah, if you've got those 3 questions that you tend to ask, or those 3 things they need to tick off, this is where they'll do it. As they're filling out questions, you'll see it saves it automatically. So it saves as they're going through, so you don't have to worry about like lost data or anything like that. And they can save progress throughout if they need to. So I'm going to submit that. And for the supplier, that is the first stage. So throughout, they can access documents here. So anything that you've uploaded, they'll see, and anything that they've uploaded, they'll see here as well. They can send messages, so they can send you detail. They can send you messages throughout the tool throughout the event.
You suggested messages as a way of asking questions about the RFP. Mm-hmm. Sounded good. Now, typically, what I like to do is to ask that the questions are related to the requirements by section and subsection, and then I collate them all together, get the answers to the questions, and then publish those answers to everybody as a single consolidated. So each of the respondents may ask a slightly different question, but basically it's the same one about the same.
That makes sense.
So I homogenize those questions into a single question and then give an answer to that single question. Is there a mechanism for doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to go back into the host view. So what I would say is probably the best way to do that is you can either send out a mass message. So you can just send out a message to everyone by selecting the names of who you want to include. Or what you could do is you could upload it as a document and then link that to a mass message. So if we go back to the overview tab, actually I'll just go straight to the documents. So we'd edit the event by clicking on the edit button down here. We can then add a new document. So here you'd add in your document with the responses from people, with the questions from people. And then once you've added that document, so I'm going to save these changes. Ooh, maybe it's because my son's doing things. Ooh, I've seen that happen before.
Sorry.
I think that might be because you're. What's happened? I think because my son's doing things in the background, it's a bit of a meltdown.
I'm messing around.
Let me go back in. Put me off my stride, Marsan. So what you would then be able to do is in the messages, send a message to everyone, and you can select a document to attach. So you could add all those questions as a document, select it from here, and then send to everyone a message saying, please see the attached document with all the question responses. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So that might be something we can look at to come up with a standard question template that we can all use. So yeah, and that may well can actually use it for the question submission as well. So rather than having individual questions, they can just go, right, this is a template. If you've got any questions related to the RFP, so it clearly states the question, the section of the RFP that it refers to, or a section within the scope document, or so there's a reference there, and then you can use that in terms of then pulling together your list from all suppliers and then publish that out as you go through.
And then filtering them and homogenizing it.
Cool. So we've added our question responses, and Marsan's put some in the background. So to review those questionnaire responses, you'll go to the relevant questionnaire tab. You can export the responses if you need to into Excel. And if you've got it as a gateway questionnaire, if you've got it as pre-qualification, this is where you'll accept their answers and let them go on to the next stage. So we've got all our participant answers. We can accept each of them here, or we could decline or allow them to resubmit if they said, I said I don't accept your terms, but I do, I'm sorry. You can add them in here, but we'll accept these for now. So we've accepted them, and what I'm going to do is just jump back into being the participant and quickly show you what they'll see when placing pricing. I'm just aware of time, so sorry if I talk quite quickly. So as the participant, now that we've accepted the responses, the participant can see the company information questionnaire, they can see the RFQ response questionnaire, they can work through both of those, and they can add pricing. So I'm gonna pop over to the participant view, and you'll see everything's now available. So we've got the first questionnaires ticked because they've answered it, the others have got little crosses because they haven't yet, and we'll move on to the pricing stage here. So from the participant's perspective, they can place a bid by clicking on place bid, and they'll put the figure in the box and click on submit. If they've tried to go above your qualification price, they'll be told they need to drop it, but they won't see anything about the qualification price unless they go too high initially. So now we'll drop, and we'll go within the qualification price. And yeah, from the participant's perspective, that's kind of all done. Once these have all changed to ticks and the RFQ bids have been received, the process is completed. They've done what they need to do, and it's all been submitted.
They only get one shot at it.
They do initially.
Right.
If you want to allow them additional to do additional quotes, then that's possible as well. So once the deadlines have passed, you can open up another stage of bidding, and with that you could choose to add in additional. You could choose which participants are able to do that. I can show you how to do that in a sec.
But if he has finger trouble,
pardon?
If he had finger trouble, instead of putting 185, he put 180, and it's a push the submit button. Oh damn! I really meant 185. Oh God, I can't.
Yeah, so you can remove participants' bids. That's entirely possible. Bear with me one moment, and I'll show you how to do it.
They'll have to contact me in person, and then
yeah, so you can remove a bid. So the participant won't be able to do it themselves. They can't delete a bid. If they've placed it, it needs to be removed by yourself. But yes, it is entirely possible.
Okay.
Cool. So I'm just gonna update these times and save changes. Now we should be able to see the pop-up. So this is the pop-up I mentioned that will show if you save a change. So if you've edited it, then this will pop up. You have the ability to choose which participants that you want to send an email to, and to choose what message you want to send if you've changed something. I'm just going to close that though, because I don't want to send a message. Then moving back to the RFQ tab, here we can see our the best bid value, who the lead participant is, and we can expand it out and see all participant bids. If we were to delete a bid, we can move into here and we can click on the delete bid button. So that will remove it, and it will take it out of the it will take that out and allow them to place a new bid as long as they're still within the deadline. And yeah, that's kind of the process. I'm just waiting for these deadlines to tick down so I can show you the final couple of bits. Throughout, you can add notes. So if you want to, if you've had a conversation offline with a supplier and you want it to be clear, you want a note of it on the event, you can select them and pop in a note here. So then you've got that audit trail of everything that's happened throughout the process. And yeah, it means that you've kind of got those to hand. During the event, you can go to the participants tab and you can see which participants have kind of what participants have done. So you'll see who's registered, who's accepted the invite, and in the live site, you'd also see who's opened the invitation and who it's been delivered to. So if someone is saying to you, I've not received that email, and they're just showing as delivered, that probably means that they haven't seen the email. But if it's showing as opened, then it's not true. So this page will give you that kind of overview about who's done what, as well as how many questionnaires they've completed, how many lots they've entered. Yeah, and that's kind of it. I'm just waiting for this to tick down, and then I can just quickly show you the exporting. But did anyone have any other questions on anything I've covered?
One for me in terms of that resubmission of bids. Mm-hmm. So should we choose to use a sealed bid, would they be able to resubmit their bid as many times as they wanted?
No, they'll still only be able to do it once. They'd only be able to submit the bid once, and you'd only see it after the deadline has passed. They're not going to be able to keep updating it throughout.
But they can always, they can always contact you to say, look, I would like to resubmit another bid, and you can allow them to make a resubmission.
Not with sealed bids, because you can't see them.
Oh.
We'd need to do it as a new bidding round.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, because you can't see it. You can't allow it to be redone because you can't see it. So. Yeah. So you'd need to remove it at the end and then add a new bidding round if you were doing sealed bids. Cool. So the deadline is now passed. So we've got the option here to add another round of bidding if we want to. So if this first round of bidding, we've got 3 suppliers who've responded and we think actually supplier number 1 was way off, but supplier number 2 and 3, I'd like to see their best and final. Then you can select the participants you want to include. You can add a new deadline, and you can then reopen for them to add an updated bid. You don't have to, but that option is there if you're looking for additional bids. You also have the option to download a report, so export it into Excel, or award the lots in the tool. So I've just realized I haven't actually set up Simon's account to show the Parangusta integration, but here you would see the ability to add a savings report as well. So normally there'll be a add savings report button here that you can click on to link through to Parangusta. But for this, we'll select our participant, create the award notice, and we can send them a message to let them know. And if we want to, we can include a PO number and send an email.
Question for Simon. Would a saving calculated as per that basis be an acceptable saving according to our savings policy?
As a unit cost reduction, I would say yes.
If one's comparing it to the current price,
yeah.
If it's a new product for which we don't have a current price.
If it's a new one where we've used a budget, I think so long as we can articulate the rationale that we've derived the budget from, then I would say that's perfectly acceptable.
Thank you.
And that's the process with Market Dojo. So I'm not sure whether we've got time to go over quick quotes or not. I can do a quick couple of minutes to show people where it is.
I think we've got 15 minutes.
Cool.
Nobody's back on the door.
No?
Perfect.
We've got 15 minutes left in this session, yeah.
Cool.
Quick quote.
Well, I can absolutely show quick quotes.
Sure, yeah.
Did anyone have any other questions before I move on to that though?
No.
Is it feeling kind of is it all making sense and feeling like it will help you guys in terms of kind of speeding up the process and giving you everything all in one place?
I think just to touch on, and apologies, I think you did it very, very quickly in terms of that award stage. Obviously, there is, and some of the sort of observations I've done on some of the current events that have been done, we might not have previously done that. And that may well be because we didn't want to send a communication via Market Dojo, but correct me from what my understanding is that when you do the award, you don't have to notify them. So
no,
if you
don't have to.
Line process where you send them a letter and say, yeah, congratulations, you've been awarded a contract, there it is, sign it, or the latter, yes.
So you can just tick it and not create the award notice, and tick it and create the savings report, which the button will be here. Apologies that it's not. You can absolutely do that.
And I mean, yeah, I'm from a utility background, so if we did that, it would all, the walls would come crumbling in terms of all the stuff that we had to go through. But you don't have to do the award notice through the system. You can still do that via your offline process. I would only suggest that then you just upload the documentation into there as supporting information to make sure it's being done, and it's all in one place as an archive.
Cool. Thanks, Simon.
I had a quick question about that process.
Yeah.
If we have stakeholders who want to be actively engaged in the building of the questionnaires and proofing the questionnaires before they go out, is there a way of having non-procurement people to assist in this process, or would you recommend that we just get them in a meeting room and go through line by line with them?
So they're able to access it and they're able to view things throughout. If they haven't got a license, they're not going to be able to make edits. So it's kind of, it depends how much input you need from them, whether you need them to be able to physically change the questions in the tool, or whether what you could do if it was one that they were creating is, if you wanted them to be able to really be involved in the creation, if it's created by them in the sandpit, they can give you the access to edit it. But because they've not got a license, they can't have access to edit your events, if that makes sense. So I would say it's absolutely possible to let them view things. It's absolutely possible for them to change their own things in the sandpit and then for you to put it live. But they're not going to be able to make changes to your events. So it depends how much kind of input they need to have. But yeah, you can absolutely share it with them, and they can absolutely get logged in and look and review things. You can also add non-procurement people as scorers. So if you did have an event where you were including scoring, then if you wanted the stakeholders to be involved in that scoring, that's possible as well. And you can choose to have multiple scorers on an event or on a questionnaire.
Righty-ho.
In which case they would be able to put in the scores and make that kind of change.
I think my view would be we can give them view access, but any changes, I think we need to hold the reins on that.
Cool.
Some of that is purely, not necessarily about the licenses, but purely around training everybody, because it's probably one of those things that they touch less frequent than we do. So it's probably better to hold the reins on that.
If you do want to give a stakeholder access, they'll just need to sign up for a Market Dojo account, and then Simon will need to add them into the host permissions. Simon, I can go through this with you. So he'll need to add them in. Once they've been added in once, you can be given the access to give them give them access to your events multiple times afterwards. But they do just need to be added into the Interserve account the once. So if you have stakeholders that you think you are going to want to show things to, I'd say get them signed up sooner rather than later, and get their details across to Simon, so that then we can you can get then it'll be a nice quick process every time you do want to give them access to something.
Same with scorers, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Quick quote.
No problem. Cool. So I'm going to quickly pop into quick quotes, which will be a really quick one to go over, thankfully. So quick quotes, it's really similar to Market Dojo, but it's just all on one page and you've got much less flexibility. So if you were just sending out a really quick, sending out, wanting to get 3 quick quotes, not needing to have loads of detail and ask them loads of things, then that's when you would use quick quotes. It's basically designed to replace email if you're doing something that's not too complex. So again, we can do our laptops here. We can pop in a deadline. So a lot of it is exactly the same as in Market Dojo. There's not like loads of difference for large elements of it. So we'll add in our deadline. We'll then add in our brief details. This is just the body of the email, and it's the same kind of concept as the brief in your full Market Dojo event. You can then attach documents. So you can use the library again. Actually, there's nothing in here yet, is there? So you can use the library, or you can drag and drop and just add in documents in the same way as you would into the Market Dojo tool. And then you choose whether or not you want to add in pricing or questions. So if we're adding in pricing, we tick the box, and it's a very similar process to what we've just gone through. You'll add in your item, you'll add in the unit of measure. So again, we can say each, and you'll add in your quantity. Here we don't have the savings aren't calculated in quick quotes, so you won't have the ability to add in your current price. You can't add in a qualification price, but yeah, it's the same in terms of just adding in the item and the unit of measure and that sort of thing. We can add in as many prices as we need to, and then we can choose whether we want to ask questions. So yeah, it could be please confirm lead time. We can then select the question type. Again, this is much reduced down, so it's either text, document, or yes, no. And we can add a number of questions in here if we want to as well. So there is a limit on here, but the limit can be extended if people are asking quite a few questions. If you are asking a few, though, we'd probably say just use Market Dojo rather than quick quotes, because then you've got much more flexibility around the question types. So once we've got our brief, added our documents, put our pricing and asked our questions, we then invite our participants. So there's, again, because I'm in the sandpit, we've just got the sandpit companies. But if we were in the live site, you'll be able to add by email like you can in Market Dojo. So we can click on get quotes once we're ready, once we've got all the details in here. And that'll then go out to the suppliers. So I'm not gonna go through the whole process of getting supplier responses into this as well. But essentially, what you'll have is you've got your brief. You'll have a summary here of any bids of the best bid. So this will show you which supplier has placed the best bid for each item. And then in your participants list here, for each supplier, you'll be able to see the response for each question and the response for each price. So yeah, you can see Marsan's popping some things in here. So we've got so now we've got some pricing in here, and yeah, you'll be able to see any documents that have been uploaded. So quick quotes is just designed to be quick. It's not designed to have lots of different stages. From the participant's perspective, it's essentially the same as the full tool. So what we went through for what the participants saw would be identical for them, whether it's a quick quote or a full sourcing event. But yeah, it's a kind of reduced down version for something where you're not looking to do something complex. So yeah, here we've got Marsan's responses in here. And then for our participants, we can see, yeah, we'll be able to see the details for each. Does that make sense? It's kind of hopefully designed to be quite easy to work through.
That's really good. I think probably the only thing I'll add is obviously the only consideration is for us is to when we use RFP templates or a version of an RFP template versus the quick quotes. And I think that's generally down to the level of the information. Some of it may be driven by the cost and the risk associated with it. So if it is something that's really, really simplistic, it's a one-off purchase for some nice £200 laptops. Yeah, we might go that route, or if it's maybe something that we want to set up with some of our framework providers, then quick quotes might be a very simplistic tool to use there. Yeah, with all that sort of transactional stuff. So, but I think it's a horses for courses really for me, but I think it's a really, really good functionality to drive some competitive events, which for something that might be a very, very simplistic, potentially low in value, that we might not just actually consider to actually get some benefit for the organisation as well. So, it's a really good thing. Cool. I think we've got a couple more slides before we finish.
Do you want me to give you the control back?
Don't have control back if you've got them there. If you can.
Yeah, I can bring them up otherwise.
So yeah, so in terms of just recapping, so we touched on the dashboard and the calendar a bit. There are some analytics stuff in there. So I think one of the tabs on the front that will basically just show you the events that you've seen. So and it will show you how many suppliers you've had submitted, etc. So you can play with that. As we said, the sandpit environment is that environment for you to go in and play around with the template, try stuff out in terms of how stuff will look to the suppliers, etc. Obviously, we've gone through the management of the creation and the management of the RFP and the quick quotes. In terms of support, obviously, yeah, come and ask me. If you've got any questions, I will try and help, but bear with me, I am learning with you guys as well. The Help Dojo stuff, by all means use that, and it is really good. I can confirm what Elle was saying earlier, that yes, you will get a response within a matter of a minute or so, and it is really helpful. We are looking as well in terms of some of that functionality to start uploading Interserve documents. So in terms of stuff around our process, some of our process steps and some of our best practice. So as soon as that starts to evolve, we may well start storing those there on the Market Dojo system as well, so that it'll be stuff that you can refer to. So, but yeah, if you have got any questions that you can't get those answers to, then by all means come and ask me. I may well need to reach out to Alan Marsan, but we will get an answer for you, and we will help you through any of the problems you've got. And I think that's it, really. So are there any more questions? I'm very wary Steve has been very quiet. He's obviously been listening hard and taking many notes.
Are you still with us, Steve?
You're still with us, Steve. You got it off.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, thank you. No, it all makes sense. Thank you. It's all good. Cool.
Okay, if there are any questions that you think of, then yeah, by all means, drop me an email, come and have a chat with me, and I'll try and get the answer for you. What I'll do, I've made a bit of a note of some of the questions that have been asked. We consolidate those over the 2 sessions, and then probably put a sort of FAQ sort of thing, and that will be the first thing that I drop onto the Help Dojo piece, but I'll let you know when that's out there. So what I'll do is I'll say thank you to Elle for doing the donkey work, Marsan for putting in some quotes on your 2 and thank you all you guys for attending this afternoon. Hope you found it useful. And yeah, look out for the next learning events, whether that be Market Dojo or any other systems or the processes that we've got to do. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much for listening to me. Cheers. Bye.
Something which might be